It's been over a year since Tears of the Kingdom came out, so today I'm gonna go back to Breath of the Wild, do a speedrun of the all dungeons route, and kind of just compare Breath of the Wild as a retrospective to Tears of the Kingdom, see what I like more, what I like less, and see which one is truly my favorite. So that being said, let's get into the run, and let's just gonna dive into the world of Breath of the Wild. Okay. Let's start by going and getting our Sheikah slate. I think for the start of this, instead of clipping out of bounds, I think I'm actually going to go through the front entrance because I want to get the opening cutscene of Breath of the Wild. Since we're coming back, I want to do a few things that we haven't seen in a while. And here is the iconic intro. You know, I think starting off immediately, I want to talk quickly about this intro in comparison to Tears of the Kingdom. I think both of them are like basically as good as openings, but I think this one feels more powerful than Tears of the Kingdom because it was the first time that we got an open world Zelda game. So there is something special about being used to these smaller games, coming out here and being like, whoa, this world is massive, because you can only really have that feeling, I think, one time. Now, there's one thing about this game that is a lot better than Tears of the Kingdom that was unfortunately patched, and that, my friends, is the world of whistle sprinting. I understand why they patched whistle sprinting, but I do think that it is kind of a missed opportunity. Like, even if it was initially unintended, it could have been kept as an intended feature. It was like, okay, we overlooked that, but we're gonna keep it in. And also, I want to clarify one thing if you're watching this on YouTube. This is not just going to be like comparing the games casually. I'm actually going to be doing speedrun glitches, tricks, explaining them. So immediately after this cutscene, for example, we're coming up on our first real glitch, if you want to call it that does not exist in Tears of the Kingdom. So first up here is fall damage cancel. If you ready a weapon and you're going to throw it, and then right before throwing it, you basically let go and then change the weapon you're throwing, or shield for that matter, it basically interrupts your fall and it makes it so you take no fall damage. That one, I don't actually have a problem with them patching out of Tears of the Kingdom because that game is based upon height. And, you know, a lot of it is in the sky, and you get Zonai, you get the dive outfit and other things like that. I do completely understand why that was taken out of the speedrun / game, and I do think that that was actually overall a better change, because I do think it does defeat the purpose a little bit of the punishment if you happen to fall. Okay, I'm going to start by going to the bomb shrine. So the bombs have two aspects to them. The first thing about the bombs that's exciting is that obviously it's just a really cool mechanic when you're going mining, when you're going for runes, because you can explode things. Second of all is that you can use it with a lot of different glitches, which you will see a little bit later on when I get a little bit more equipment and setup. We're just going to kind of go through this casually. Okay, and that is the first shrine down. So now, once we have the bow, I think this is something that I really do appreciate about Breath of the Wild, which is that the glitches, even though some of them are difficult, a lot of them have this perfect hybrid of difficulty, yet accessibility. They're not just like brutal glitches that only a speedrunner would perform, but you can actually implement it into a casual playthrough to just speed things up. So let's do the first one first. So this one is a BLSS, or what I like to call Wiggle Bomb. We're going to jump and drop the bomb, pick up the bomb at the same time as we take out the bow. We're gonna jump and then interrupt holding the bomb at the same time as we pause, then unequip the shield, and now we're gonna have in this glitch state where basically the bomb is stuck to our hand. Then if we walk up on a ledge and hold the B button, Link should do this, and we should be able to fly. And I can also kind of maneuver how I want by flicking the analog stick in the opposite direction like this. That's why it's called a wiggle bomb. And even if it's hard to do this optimally and fast, this glitch is very, very easy to perform as a casual. And I do think that that is the one thing that Tears of the Kingdom speedrunning really misses, which is movement glitches. Now, there are some movement glitches that are used on version 1.0, such as using the wings. You kind of get two wings together and you're able to push it as you're standing on it, called auto build cancel slide. So you can do certain glitches like that to be able to gain height in Tears of the Kingdom, but a lot of them still requires more of a setup, and it's very easy to kind of fall down or fall off or get that glitch interrupted. And when that happens, it's kind of annoying to repeat the setup, and they're just not as powerful as they were in Breath of the Wild. Now this right here, I know this is a small one, but a quick little side note, this is one of the things I miss the most in Tears of the Kingdom. I understand story-wise why, but I really miss the Guardians. I thought it was one of the coolest enemies. You're walking through the overworld, and you hear the little music that do, and a laser comes on you, and you just go, I don't know what's happening, and then the laser hits you, and you just instantly die. Yeah, the Gloom Hands is a good point. The Gloom Hands is probably the closest fear factor to the Guardians. But before we get from today's video, just a quick word from today's sponsor. As many of you know, I love Manscaped, and I use their products literally all the time. And they just launched a brand new version of my favorite product, a white hot edition of the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Now, if you're not aware, the Lawnmower 5.0 is an incredible trimmer. It comes with a great battery life, a beautiful sleek design, and this amazing case for storing it. But what I think sets it above the competition is its blades. The dual blade, which comes pre-installed, gives you that perfect trim, lets you set multiple lengths, and is overall great for every situation. Or you can interchangeably swap it with a foil blade, which is also included in the box, which gives you that ultra smooth shave, perfect for the summer when heading to the beach, looking professional for a meeting, or in my case, looking silly for a YouTube video. So trust me, this is truly the best trimmer in the market, and if you want to check it out, then you're in luck. Because if you go to manscaped.com/Linkus7 or use promo code Linkus7, you will get 20% off your order plus free shipping. So what are you waiting for? Get it right now by clicking the link in the description of this video, and thank you so much Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Okay, now here you're going to be able to see a lot of movement stuff and why it really speeds up Breath of the Wild. So you're going to see here that I'm going to use this to get as quickly as possible to the next shrine. So first, I'm going to get a lot of overworld speed here. So you're going to go across. You just have to get up here. There we go. Okay, beautiful. So here we're coming up on the second movement glitch that I think everyone who's played this game just loves this glitch. This right here is a bomb impact launch, or some people like to call it a wind bomb. Basically how it works, you jump off of a surface, it can be any surface, you drop a bomb, enter slow motion, drop the second bomb, and then you explode the first bomb, and the second bomb will just kind of hit you in the back and give you either incredible amounts of height or distance or both, depending on the timing that you use. So let's see if we can get this. There we go. And I think the thing I like the most about the BIL glitch, it has so many variations to do it. Like if you're a casual, you might have done the 2 backflip setup, I'm guessing. But if you practice more, you can do it from a jump, from a wall jump, from a tree. You can do it off of any ledge. You can do it in midair if you have enough stamina/health. It just adds one of these incredibly cool aspects to the speedrun. And it can be done by a casual without too much trouble. It does feel weird to not have this go backwards and instead just be paused in midair. I do think that recall is better than stasis. I'm gonna be honest. I do think that that is an upgraded ability to this. Okay. So right here, we can wiggle bomb around this mountain here. And this should put us at an angle where we can just kind of skip the entire frozen snow area and go straight to the last shrine. Now, I know that this is a speedrunner or replay/challenge perspective of things, because as a casual, you will probably only go through this one time. But I will say immediately, I think that the Great Sky Island is much worse than the Great Plateau. And that comes from someone who doesn't even like the Great Plateau much. There's something about the Great Sky Island where you're very much intended to do it in one order. So you're kind of doing just a circle around the island. It's just a lot more slow and tedious to get through. I get that there needs to be more space to teach the more advanced mechanics that it does have compared to Breath of the Wild, but it just feels a little bit less open, I guess, and more like I'm going through a tutorial, while here, it feels like I'm actually playing the game on my own accord. But I still feel like I'm just exploring the game and I'm being taught, instead of just straight up, here's the tutorial, you go through a circle. So I do think that this is handled a lot better overall. And that is the entirety of the most boring aspect of the game, the Great Plateau. Now we can head to the end to finish this off. Also, here you're going to see the last time where I'm actually going to be using a fall damage cancel. So we're going to fly above the church, and then I'm going to start a throw, cancel it, and bam, there we go. And we are now at the end. Now, here is one of my biggest grudges with Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild, but I absolutely despise that they moved where you got the paraglider. It feels like the only reason Nintendo made the gameplay decision to move the paraglider from the end of the Great Sky Island to instead being after the quest at the Lookout Landing area is for the sole reason that they wanted it to be changed and different from Breath of the Wild. So I do think think that that is a worse gameplay change. Okay, now here is one of the first things that I actually have to say that is an improvement in Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom has a defined main hub. I do think that it feels really nice in an open world game to have one place that you always go back to. Here, I don't feel like I have that. Like right now, there's nowhere I really want to go. I think I can speak for most people when I say, once you have saved Terry Town, most people just go there. Looking around here too, this overworld is definitely a lot more barren than Tears of the Kingdom is. I think there are more things to do in Tears of the Kingdom. And if you haven't played Breath of the Wild before, I do think that the additional content does make it a more fulfilling and entertaining experience to have more things happening. All right, let's head over to the Rito now. I'm gonna be honest, I really love BLSS. It really makes it feel like I can kind of just highlight each area without spending too much time walking. You know what I mean? Like if I were to do this in Tears of the Kingdom right now, I would be doing a lot of walking. Now, here's a little hot take. I do think the memories were done better in Breath of the Wild than in Tears of the Kingdom. Here's where I think Tears of the Kingdom got their story wrong. I think you shouldn't have been allowed to get the memories in any order you wanted, because if you get a later game memory early on, it completely ruins and spoils the whole story and it gets super confusing. I think it would have been better if they had the locations, but it made it so that the memory you got had to follow an order. Does that make sense? So the 10 locations exist, but it always plays in the same order. So you're discovering a story as you're going throughout the game. It's a quick, easy way I would have changed it. All right, let's go into our next shrine. Path of Hidden Winds. This is such an easy shrine. I'm curious about your guys' opinion on this, both in the chat and in the comment section. What do you think of the shrines in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? I do feel like Tears of the Kingdom shrines are more fleshed out and more thoroughly puzzly. But at the same time, it does mean that each shrine will take up a long set of time. So it's not like a quick little adrenaline rush of like, ooh, I found a shrine, and then you have one puzzle and you're done. While in Tears of the Kingdom, they're more like complex, almost mini dungeons. A lot of them at least are. I do think overall the Tears of the Kingdom ones are better, but I did notice that when I played Tears of the Kingdom, I definitely left more shrines unbeaten that I came back to later on. Okay, now we're coming up, however, though, on the first quest for entering a dungeon. This is one of the first main aspects that I really will say in the perspective of a speedrunner. I really dislike how long they made the quests for getting into dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom. I really like that in Breath of the Wild, you find an area, you talk to one or two NPCs, and you get straight into the action of the dungeon. And it really makes it good for a speedrun aspect. Having to go through like so much dialogue and text makes the speedrun very boring, because it means that all dungeons gets really long and filled with kind of just running back and forth doing chores for NPCs. All right, let's enter our first dungeon. We're coming up on probably what is arguably the most controversial part of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the dungeons. People really missed the old school dungeons. Let's go through the overall structure of this dungeon. Then let's discuss it. So you will find a terminal. It will give you a map. Not only do you have a map of the dungeon, but you also have some way to kind of interact with the dungeon so that the dungeon can be changed. And this is different in between the different Divine and Beasts. On this specific bird one, you can angle it so that it goes like this. So it's really different depending on each dungeon. But either way, let's just kind of follow along what I would normally do in the speed run here. So let's open this up. We're gonna run up here. We don't really have to remove this eye here. We can kind of just come here on the side, walk around. And here we're gonna find a terminal. Now this terminal is very important because this is the entire concept of these dungeons. Find a terminal, go through the dungeon some more, find the next terminal, and repeat. That's the whole concept of the dungeons. We're gonna come to this side here, and we're just gonna basically speed run through this at this point. You get the idea. I do think that the Tears of the Kingdom dungeons are a little bit better, but I don't think that they're great. They have more unique themes to them. So in terms of look and atmosphere, it definitely brought back that old school vibe. But in terms of gameplay, it still follows the same concept of having terminals. It's going to be hard for Nintendo if they keep it open world to bring back traditional dungeons. The entire structure of, like, think about any traditional dungeon. They are all themed around obtaining an item, and it will open up the dungeon. And I think that's also, by the way, why each dungeon in original traditional Zelda games were very unique, because it wasn't just the atmosphere that was unique to each dungeon, it was the puzzles around the new item that you got, which is just something that physically can't be done when you already have everything enabled to you at the start. That is a good take. One way that you could in future games keep it open world but make it unique would be if each dungeon had a similar concept to Adventide, where it restricts your abilities that you have already been giving in the overworld. Then you would be able to get more unique puzzles for sure. Got him. All right, and that is the first dungeon down. Now, I will say, I do think they did the bosses a lot better in Tears of the Kingdom as well. Because you had a partner throughout a dungeon in Tears of the Kingdom, it does use that aspect to it, which I think was Nintendo's attempt, by the way, and their intention for adding in those partners to try and make the dungeons more similar to the old ones. Because it was their way to keep the game open world, but still kind of introduce a unique puzzle aspect to each dungeon. Kind of like an item. I think that's a fine way to implement it. Here is my problem. Once you beat the dungeon, it should not have required him to follow you. This is one of the biggest negative factors I have to say about Tears of the Kingdom. We just got Revali's Gale. Now, if I want to go up, I jump, I hold in the button, I fly up. There should be no reason to have a ghost constantly follow me and take up my screen. Like, I'm sorry, but if you have all of them enabled, you can't see anything, and it's very annoying. But anyways, that is the first dungeon complete out of 4. Let's head over to the next dungeon, shall we? Now, once we're over here, I quickly want to make a quick pit stop to this shrine. Now, this shrine, I have very fond memories of. It's both fun and frustrating at the same time. Here we go. This was the first time a lot of people ever stumble upon a puzzle with motion controls, because most people didn't have the Wii U. And it's this last jump specifically also that is just such a pain and easy to mess up on here. Let's see if we can get it first try, sort of. Here we go. Kill the speed too much. It's not necessarily a great shrine by any means, but it was just one of these puzzles where I think anyone who's played it will very much remember this one. Okay, let's go way more down. And then, goddamn. Can you flip it upside down? Wait. I did not know that. Anyone who did this in their casual playthrough, I'm sorry, you were just cheating. I suffered. Well, you're out here flipping it. I can't believe you, Chad. That's one of the things, though, that I really love about the shrines. Almost every shrine has more than one solution. And I'm not talking about glitches, which is you can just fly to the end. I mean, even in a non-glitch perspective, there are almost always more than one way to solve it. Either way, let's just go to the next dungeon. There's the next Divine and Beast. Yeah, this was actually my first dungeon in my casual playthrough. I did a very painful order. Zora, so this elephant. Then I did Gerudo. Oh my god, that was so hard as my second one. Then I did Goron, and then last I discovered the Rito one. Yeah, let me use the pitchfork. Why not? Okay, here's a huge improvement in Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild. The fact that they let you choose to drop something when you try and pick it up like that, when you open up a chest, is massive. Another thing I think that the fusing mechanic really did change, that's a lot better in Tears of the Kingdom too. Most of the materials just go unused in Breath of the Wild. And it's one of those things where you're too scared to sell it because it feels like it might be useful, so you keep it. And then it's never used. Okay, time to use the Tolan ability. Now, or the Tolan, sorry, Revali. Revali early on is so broken for early dungeons because it really makes you being able to get to areas where you're clearly not supposed to. If you go through there, you can literally, I've already used my third one. With 3, you can immediately get up there and break this entire puzzle, basically. Unfortunately, I already used one and I forgot to clear it. That is one thing that I do think could be improved in Breath of the Wild. I wish that they would recharge slowly, even when you haven't used them up. Definitely something that was fixed with the change of using the sages over the champions. Okay, anyways, let's move on to the next boss. And here's what I mentioned, by the way, about that I think the bosses were done a lot better in Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild. All the bosses in Breath of the Wild are basically done the same way. You stun lock them or you shoot them with a bow, and when they're stunned, you just use a weapon on them. There is not a lot of change to how you fight them, except for the Gerudo one. Right here for this third phase, I put an ice block out. And he's dead. And all I did was just shoot arrows. Like, you get the point. And there we go. There's the second one done. Okay. Now, I want to mention one thing. So this is something I really want to give credit to when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom. Because Breath of the Wild is really hard at the start and it becomes really easy once you have spec'd yourself out of it. Because if you look here, even though I'm 2 dungeons in, all of these bokoblins are still just as easy as when the game started. I can come here with my wooden axe and I can still take basically like half of their damage in 2 hits. If I use anything good, they're one shot immediately. I think that the scaling system that they implemented in Tears of the Kingdom was super good. Either way, small tangent right there. Let's head over to the next dungeon, shall we? And this, I think, is the area that had the biggest change in between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The Goron area. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this area right here, I do think that it has more of a cool visual being all fire and lava, but I actually think I prefer the Tears of the Kingdom part of a lot of the big areas not having lava in them. It does make it look visually more boring because it's all kind of just mountainous area in Tears of the Kingdom, but it did make it more fun to play because there was more things to do and not just like, okay, running around lava, have to avoid going places. So I do think that they did really do a good improvement here in Tears of the Kingdom. You know, it is really funny. I feel like the longer I'm playing this, the more I'm appreciating Tears of the Kingdom. Like, do you know what's something that probably hasn't stood out to you, but is standing out to me now once I'm 2.5 hours into this? I have actively avoided fighting every overworld enemy. In Tears of the Kingdom, I want to fight overworld enemies because I want to get loot so I can actually fuse. Here, I just find it to be annoying and I am just avoiding all of it. It's just gonna waste my durability and my weapons that I do have, and I'm not gonna get anything out of it. Okay, now this is the one and only Divine and Beast that actually had a sort of quest to it to enter the dungeon, similarly to how Tears of the Kingdom did it. Boink. All right, let's do the quest to enter the dungeon. I'm pretty sure you can just push these basically and it just insta kills. I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time since I did this. Okay. I don't remember how I'm supposed to... Oh, I see. You know what? Doing this casually and without doing the speedrun strats, I actually don't think this is that bad. This is a well-implemented, different mechanics each time puzzle. Like, you can obviously just spam arrows and kind of cheese it, but if you don't do that, you really have to figure out a new strat for each one of these. Ooh, that was close. So it kind of stays unique. All right, time for the third dungeon, and arguably, I think this is the most unique dungeon of them, even though it follows the concept of being terminal-based. I think that this whole area right here of making it this dark area, I think really gave it a different vibe and didn't feel as much of like, I'm just doing another Divine and Beast. There we go. Thankfully, if you memorize where to shoot your arrows, you can get through this a lot faster. Yeah, obviously, I know where to shoot here because I've done the speedrun many times, but as a first-time casual playthrough, when you kind of, you know, get a torch and you walk around, it's such a cool place. All right, should be able to get through this quickly. There is a shot you can do that's precise. I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But if I remember correctly, you want to get this lid, and then you want to go to the middle of the room. And then I think you want to shoot this wall here, and you want to have it shoot there and then fall down. Still got it, baby. Nice. And that removes a really long quest of running around with that. You can definitely make the Divine and Beast very fast for the speedrun. Now, if I lift this up, it should fall down. And there we go. Okay, that should be all of them. This dungeon is very cool. It's a little bit sad. I'm basically just skipping through the whole thing because, well, I can't like unknow the speedrun strats, but honestly, you're not missing out on a lot. Most of it is just running around with the torch. It's weird. I did not like this dungeon casually. I really like it as a speedrunner. Okay, here we go. I have to switch to electric. There we go. Okay, for second phase should be pretty easy. I stand by what I said earlier, by the way. These dungeons, like this dungeon, I think might be one of the better ones in terms of going through the dungeon, but all the dungeons suffer from one thing, which is that they're all the same structure and they all look the same, which kind of just blends them together. And I think a lot of people just don't feel like they're going into a really cool, interesting dungeon because of that. And there's the third dungeon. One more to go. Gerudo, which is arguably the hardest one left. Now, there are a few more shrines I want to do, so let's head over to the overworld and go into some shrines and yeah. All right. Now, I want to remember that this shrine is one of the longer shrines. I've only done this shrine once, and it was so long ago. This is one of the easiest shrines to skip. You literally BIL right there. You get to the end, you're done. So let's try and figure this out. I don't actually remember to do casually. So we're gonna bring this ball up and then you should let it go down. And I'm guessing the pressure, yep, just pushes it right open. Edge of Duality is a very good one. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Oh, the auto drop and opening up a chest. I have not missed that. So it's just like it's just gonna roll forward and hit the wall. Okay, nice. Dude, this is a long shrine. Okay, I see what I have to do. Giga Chad, there we go. Yeah, like I said, you can really tell that on some of these, Nintendo really went like far and beyond to make these really big and cool. And on some of them, they just made it really short. Okay, for this one, I think I just have to stasis it and then hit it a couple of times. All right, and there it is. Yeah, this was definitely a good shrine. So if we go towards this path, here's another cool aspect that they did that I think they did more of in Tears of the Kingdom. This shrine has always stood out to me because it's a really odd one out compared to almost all the other shrines in Breath of the Wild. It's a tutorial shrine. There's only like 2 or 3 of them basically in all of Breath of the Wild. And this one is disguised as the tutorial one. It's not like, you know, the one with the Guardian where it tells you how to flurry rush and parry. This one just kind of gives you the idea of how that wind can change how you're flying. So it doesn't even feel like it should be a shrine. This is it if you don't remember the shrine. This is the entire thing. And it's the really only one they do, and it's on the way to Kakariko, so it'll be the first shrine you run onto when you leave the Great Plateau. But I think they did this a lot more in Tears of the Kingdom, which is why a lot of them are, I think, more unique in Tears of the Kingdom, because Tears of the Kingdom has so many ways that you can fuse or just use different abilities in different ways. There's a lot more that they can kind of show you of like, oh, hey, did you know that if you fuse this with this together, it'll have this effect? Well, there isn't that much that has to be explained because the mechanics are a lot more straightforward in Breath of the Wild. All right, let's BAL here. Now we're at the entrance of the Gerudo. Let's go here. Let's go to the shrine. Power of electricity. Okay, I think honestly, almost all of the Gerudo shrines are really cool because they implement this electricity theme to it. I think this area had a lot of more thought to put into the shrines. Okay. And there it is. There's the first electricity shrine. And also, here I think is a perfect demonstration of the difference in between how Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does it. Tears of the Kingdom will have this beginning step, and then it will go for much longer, in my opinion. I think this shrine would basically have an entire different section added to it. Okay. Anyways, let's go to the last area. Now, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that this was the one area where Nintendo did not want to think at all about changing it. They basically just kept the deserts and just like randomly spit in like basically holes in the ground and added, I guess, a storm. I think one thing that they could have done that would have been really cool would have been that the storm came in and it like swept up a bunch of cool ruins or like more grassy areas and like oases around here that were hidden underneath the sand. I think if they did that, that would have been really cool. Okay, let's start this quest. This quest should be pretty easy and straightforward. I do definitely miss a little bit the Yiga clan in Tears of the Kingdom from Breath of the Wild. I thought it was so fun the first time you came here and you didn't know anything about it, but I don't think it would have been special to just keep it the same way. So I do think that in terms of how a sequel is done, they did it about as good as, in my opinion, you realistically can. And I do think that the way they kept Master Koga around was a really clever way of doing it too. Let's see if I, based upon memory, can just zoom through this. I'm pretty sure it's this one right here. Now here, I'm pretty sure I don't even need to sneak around him. I'm pretty sure I can just fly over his head. Yep. I like their animation. They're like, oh, goody, 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 goody. Either way, this is one of the ones that you can just instantly skip. All right, let's go and fight Master Koga. It basically doesn't matter how much damage I do because the rocks kind of make it how many cycles there are. You can, with insane damage, skip one cycle, but you practically can't if you don't have insane or equipment. All right. Second phase, Nieces, bam, and Koga's down. Yeah, I am glad that Master Koga is as equally cool in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, the personality just kind of stays in between them. Bye. And there's the Thunder Helmet. All right, let's head back to Gerudo and let's start this last dungeon. Now, there is a speedrun strat to do this boss quickly. It's been a long time since I did this, but let's see if I remember it. All right, so you go over here and then you line up here and then you do backflip, backflip. You're gonna say keep up the fight. She does that one time. Then you place the bomb. You do a forward one instead of height one. Fly over here. And we're going to go up on the fight. Got him. And you instantly get him down. Still got it, baby. Here we go. Final dungeon. Yeah, this is definitely the hardest Divine and Beast, not only for the boss, but also to just play when you're casual. Thankfully, as a speedrunner, this shouldn't be too difficult. Especially because also we have 3 Rivali scales, which kind of breaks the puzzles for this dungeon. First, I'm going to get to the top by using a Rivali scale here. Can use a second one right here. This is going to get me all the way to the top. Then I'm going to drop down here in the middle. We're going to open this up for the next terminal. Here is a little fun fact many of you guys might not know. You can just shoot electric arrows on this, and it just keeps it open. Then here, I'm going to use Rivali to zoom over the gate. Screw getting this open. This takes forever to do it legitimately. Then we're gonna get the last terminal right here. This is the final one. And now we get to head on to starting the fight. And bam. Time for Thunderblight. Let's see if I still got what it takes. Cool. Here we go. That's more of the damage I expect. And dead. There it is. That's why it's really hard. You have to be able to do flurry rushes and parries. If you don't get that timing down, it's a rough time. If you got it down, it's not too bad, honestly. All right. That's all 4 dungeons and only one thing left to do before beating the game. We still got shrines to check out. I actually know what is the next shrine I want to do. This one, I think, is somehow become one of the most iconic shrines in the entire game. This, my friends, is what a lot of people consider to be the test of strength, where you have to shoot it forward and you have to hit it enough times to make it go over there. Too many times and it rolls over the hole. Too few times it doesn't make it. My recommendation is to use a spear, because a spear makes it that you can very easily decide how much damage to deal and the angle. Any other weapon becomes very tough. All right, chat, that is the 20th and final shrine. Now, let's head to the end of the game. All right, here we go. Now, the fight and the combat is very, very different in between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Because if you've beaten all of the Divine and Beasts before, when you load in here, it's basically going to immediately skip all the refights and just spawn you down in the basement for Calamity Ganon. Not only does it skip the refights, it also deals damage to Calamity Ganon. So he ends up starting off with half of his health. Not only that, but because we've beaten the dungeons already, we can just stun him. Who needs to learn combat when you can just tank him? You could literally just go ahead and just use the abilities you've gotten. And there it is. I will say, I do think that the army is genuinely such an improvement when it comes to the fights. Calamity Ganon was a really badass boss the first time I played it, and still is, in my opinion, when it comes to Breath of the Wild. But I think having the army before just adds a lot of stake to it when you're fighting it. And even if you beat in all of the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom, it's an actual really hard fight. But if you've done it all on this game, it kind of makes it really easy. But either way, we're coming up with the kind of auto-scroller boss that Nintendo loves to do. The dragon, the beast. Which, if you don't know, by the way, in this game, it is actually an auto-scroller. Unlike Tears of the Kingdom, where you can be really good and make like a 2-cycle out of the boss, this one is based upon a timer, meaning that if you play perfectly, there will only be like a 1 to 2 second time difference in between each one. And GG. There it is. Breath of the Wild, all dungeons, plus a bunch of additional stuff completed. Here's my conclusion after coming back to Breath of the Wild after about a year and a half of having not played it and having played a lot of hours of Tears of the Kingdom. I think if you come back from this game in a casual perspective after having played Tears of the Kingdom, then I think this game feels like it's missing a lot because you got used to Tears of the Kingdom, which I didn't realize until I came back now. There's so many small things they changed. So I think TLDR is this. Breath of the Wild is the definitive better game for speedrunning. The movement, the openness, and not having things everywhere makes this speedrun a lot better, in my opinion, and kind of sticks to what makes a speedrun good, which is exciting movement, glitches, strats, and getting to objectives quickly. But as a casual perspective, I think Tears of the Kingdom is definitely the better one. But that being said, what do you think? Do you agree with what I thought was better or worse about Breath of the Wild versus Tears of the Kingdom? Which one do you prefer in terms of casual speedrunning? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'll be interested to know what you guys think. But that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this kind of more casual calm video. I usually don't make these, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of more down-to-earth video. If you enjoyed, I'll make more in the future. But yeah, that being said, if you want to see 2 more awesome videos, click on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Later, everybody. Bye-bye.